Oh, I double poofed or something. Okay, well, here we are continuing this. Okay, so yeah, it turns out I had two different errors. First of all, in my little helper method, I forgot to return the message array. You know, if I'd made unit tests for that, I would have caught that before ever running, but oh well. And then the other, was it a typo I had? I'd capitalized this error message here because I'd copied and pasted and deleted off the front, and I'd called it quest error message, and then I'd left that with a capital E. So those were the two mistakes I was getting. I've done that, can run it now, and all my tests pass. So that gives me good, some more confidence. You know, I didn't really make a very comprehensive set of tests at all. I should have added a couple more that I haven't yet, so I'm not totally certain, but this feels like at least it feels like those changes I just made are equivalent to what I had before. Internal helper for all error messages. One thing that I will mention, in PHP, it's sort of, maybe not so good of me. I'm taking an array, and then I'm passing it over to this function. It returns an error, and I'm putting that back into this. All fine code. If these were integers, it'd be no problem. But this array is getting copied by value every time. So in PHP, whenever you pass an array, it actually passes it copies all 27 items, makes a copy of that entire array. And then you return it with maybe 28 items in it, and it copies 28 items back. And then I think actually even in this assignment statement, there's another copy that happens again there. So this is fine. I'm not going to worry about that in this class. If you do a lot of PHP programming, I'm not really talking about PHP here. But the other thing you could do is go ahead and say that we're going to pass this array by reference and put an ampersand. I'm getting my C and my PHP mixed up. Do I put the ampersand up where I declare it or there? Anyway, if you look up pass by reference in PHP, you can make sure that this array is sort of like an in or out parameter in that case. And I don't copy that, I just pass by reference, and that can save me some work. Okay, that's a side note. Let's go and clear up the one other thing I don't like about this code here. If I grep 1000, I see that I have, it occurs in two different files. I have this little hint in my form itself, and then when I do the validation, I do 1000. Easy bug. Your boss says, oh, fix that 1000, we want to make that 200 instead. I change it in one place, I forget to change it in the other. Now we have problems. So what do? No problem. We make a constant, and we use that same constant in both files. How do we get a constant so that it can be seen in two different files? Same thing we did with utils.php. We make another file and require it in each of these two. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a file called, I'm calling this form0 validated. It would be Okamon if you want, in other contexts or something like that, or catalog, catalog entry handle and catalog entry and so on. We'll go ahead and take this and make a constants file. So I'll call it form0 validated, my generic name that all my suffixes are adding onto, constants.php. Okay, and I set this up. I've added a little bit. So first of all, are spaces allowed? Now the first thing I might do is say, hey, yeah, I'm going to have 3 different variables here. Spaces allowed in quest name, spaces allowed in favorite color, spaces allowed in message. But those are 3 grouped variable names. Hey, let's don't have 3 individual variable names. Have an array that sort of groups all those together. Okay, so all my text fields are going to have this. I should probably call this favorite color and not abbreviate it any different than I did in any of my other files. So, okay. And then also I could have max lengths is an array with quest having the value 20. There we are. favorite color having the value 15, and message having the value 1000. Okay, so that's all that's going to be in this file. If the checkbox had some sort of data that was used in both places, then I might do that. I might have another array of which fields are required, or for each field, is it required or not, something like that, an array of booleans. So whatever you like here. So form 0 validated constants. Form 0 validated hyphen constants. Let's go back to our form.php. Form 0 validated.php. And we're just going to go ahead and require form 0 validated constants.php. Great. And now instead of using 1000 or 15, max length, oh, let's go ahead and enter PHP mode. And PHP will simply echo max lengths of, this was the message here. Okay. So that's all. I'll go ahead and take care of the max length in the form. May include spaces or may not include spaces. Or those are the two choices. So this is a good place to use that ternary conditional operator of a condition, question mark, what to do if that condition is true and what to do if the condition is false. We're going to echo, and we're either going to echo not or echo the empty string. Okay, may or may not include spaces. Take care of. Okay, so and then what do I want to look up? I want to look up spaces allowed of message. Okay, so I take this. I can do the same two things for the favorite color. And you might say, hey, this is a little bit overkill because I know that, about the may include spaces or not. It's like, hey, I already know that. But again, the point is, hey, what if that changes? What if that concept changes? Okay. So let's go ahead and look at this. And first of all, let's make sure this works. Why do you have extra? Let's get rid of that extra space after there. Sometimes people don't like the ternary operator because it's easy to lose the fact, especially with all these quotes going on here. Sometimes I'll go ahead and put 2 spaces around the question mark and 2 spaces around the colon just to make the other part stand out a little bit more. Okay. So the fact that we have a different question mark for a totally different reason over here just adds to the visual confusion. Oh well. Okay. I'm a fan of the ternary operator. I'm not a fan of its syntax, of that question mark colon syntax, of the infix notation. But okay. So let's go ahead and PHP, just look at the form. And already overwrite that old file, open up foo.html, and now I have max length 20, may not include spaces. I should probably have a semicolon in there. I seem to have lost that. But, oh, and what else have I done? I've inverted the sense of whether or not it should include spaces, so I need to fix that. Okay, I'll fix that offline. I won't waste our video time on that. Okay, no problem. Let's go to the very last change, and that is in the validation form. So the whole reason we're doing this is so that I can use those constants in the validation form as well. Form 0 validated handle.php. Actually, it was off in the validate code, wasn't it? I take that back. We've moved all the validate code into validate.php. So this one will go ahead and require once of topic hyphen constants.php. And here's the one little tricky part now. If I go in here and if I just look inside here where I have the 15 and 1,000, so I'm just going to replace this 1,000 with max lengths of message. You know, actually, I can just get rid of, since I'm already having this helper function that takes in message, I'm going to get rid of that 1,000 entirely and say, hey, the purpose of this helper function is going to look it up in the array max lengths. So max length of key. Okay. Hey, that little refactoring I did earlier is paying off right now. Totally unanticipated. I did not really plan for this to happen, but it does. Okay. So max lengths, I think that's what I call it. Now here's the problem. PHP validate test.php warning missing argument. Oh, I have the wrong number of arguments. Okay, so that's definitely a problem. Undefined variable max lengths. Oh, did I get the name wrong? Max lengths is what I called it. Well, that's kind of weird. So what's going on? Why is it saying that max lengths is an unknown variable? PHP has a weird idea of what global or how scoping of variables works. So I did that require up at the top of this file. That's sort of snarfed in the constants. It's as if I declared it at the top level of this file. But just because you've declared a variable outside a function does not mean it can be seen inside a function, even inside the same file, which usually the way scope works in most languages, it would be seen in the functions that follow that definition within that file. I have to go and make a special declaration, global max lengths. Okay, and that will let me go ahead and get rid of that parameter. That will let me go ahead and use the variable max lengths imported from the exterior scope, or whatever, the surrounding scope of the... you know, I guess the one advantage I can see of this sense of global is that PHP is one where you often grab code snippets off the web from somewhere else. And if you grab somebody else's code snippet and they just use a variable that wasn't mentioned, well, again, especially if you don't have error reporting turned on, your copied code is not going to work at all, and you may or may not even notice that. But that global declaration, if somebody else was using a global one of their global variables, they'll have a global variable declaration in their code. You copy their code, you run this code now, and it will say error, there is no global variable max lengths. So I guess that's one argument of why that maybe is helpful in this context where you were often copying and pasting other people's snippets of code. Yeah. Okay. So now let's go ahead and oh, sorry, we did one, but not the other, right? So we went ahead and took care of the max lengths, but we still have these spaces allowed. And you know, I can get rid of this parameter too, can't I? Okay. I'll have global spaces allowed and spaces allowed of the key. When I call it, I'll get rid of this true or false. Okay. So you know, I've pulled those constants into the file, and it's actually tightened up and shortened our code elsewhere too. That's a hallmark of good refactoring. Your code is better and more robust and probably shorter, and sometimes it's even more general too. It does more than it did before. So, okay. And we pass all our tests. Whew. I get all that right. And now we can say, okay, we have a good form handler now, and we have good software structure behind all of it. I'll go ahead and submit it and get 100%. Awesome.